Why use webinars in your marketing strategy? Why should you use webinars as part of your marketing strategy? Well, there are a number of reasons. Over the last few years, webinars have gone mainstream, and people are familiar with them a lot more than they used to be. People know that if they attend a webinar, they will receive some value, and there is likely to be a pitch at the end. This is good for you. When people attend your webinars, they are very likely to have this expectation. It will not be a shock to them when you make a pitch for one of your products or services at the end. Deliver value with webinars. All of your webinars must provide value to your attendees. This is the main reason that people will attend. They have a problem in your niche, and they believe that the webinar will solve that problem for them. A high-value webinar can keep an audience engaged for a long time. It is not uncommon for webinars to last between 1 and 2 hours. No other marketing tool has the power to do this. Videos are not interactive like webinars, so they will not have the same impact, and people are likely to stop watching them after a few minutes. Attendees know that they will be able to participate. The main way of doing this is to ask you questions and get the answers in real time. You are able to ask your audience questions as well, and you can ask them to participate regularly in micro-actions, such as polls, quizzes, and so on. When you get your audience to perform microtransactions throughout the webinar, you are warming them up to taking the final action that you want, purchasing your product or service. Not all webinars have sales pitches at the end of them. Some businesses use webinars to just provide value by explaining how to solve a problem and how using their products and services make things a lot easier. This increases brand awareness and trust, which will make the attendees more likely to become customers in the future. Expert status. If you are running a webinar, then your audience will perceive you as an expert. Even if some of the attendees have never heard of you before, they will assume that you are an expert in your niche because you are running the webinar. Being perceived as an expert is exactly what you want. People trust experts and are much more likely to buy from them. It takes effort for attendees to register for a webinar, and they have to spend their precious time attending. They wouldn't do this if they didn't believe that they are going to learn something valuable from you. No hard sell. If you set up and run your webinar in the right way, then you will not require a hard sell for your products or services. We will cover this later on in this training. You will be able to present your offer to your audience, and some of them will just go for it because you have impressed them so much throughout the webinar. Your webinar needs to discuss a problem that your audience is having and provide a solution. It needs to deliver value and overcome any objections. You need to persuade the attendees that they have a specific want and your product or service is that want. By the time you come around to the pitch, your audience will be ready to buy without a hard sell. A large global audience. One of the really great things about webinars is that you can provide your presentation to hundreds, possibly thousands of attendees from all over the world. You can sit at home controlling everything. It doesn't get much better than that. Okay, it is not as effective as a one-to-one meeting with a prospect, but it is the next best thing. Your audience wants to hear what you have to say and how you will solve their problems. They are a captive audience. Can you imagine the logistics and the cost of gathering hundreds of people from around the world to a physical venue? Webinars have high engagement levels. Live webinars are special because your attendees know if they show up late, they are going to miss a part of your presentation. If you don't plan to provide a replay, or at least announce that you are going to do this, then they will miss out on everything if they do not attend. This is why people from around the world are willing to attend a webinar in the middle of the night. They will do this because they want the information that you are going to share. It is one of the best scarcity tactics available. Show up or miss out and stay until the end, or you may miss something important. The other reason that webinars offer high levels of engagement is because they are interactive. People know that they will have the chance to participate and ask questions. You want to encourage attendees to ask questions as this increases their interest in what you are discussing. Generate leads with webinars. Every business wants to make sales, but they also know the importance of generating leads. No matter how good your webinar is, you are not going to sell your product or service to all of the attendees. When a person registers for a webinar event, you will obtain their contact details, their name and email address. This enables you to follow up with them after the webinar through email marketing. You know that they are interested in your niche and solving a specific problem, so you can use this to your advantage. Invite guest presenters and leverage their audience. Do you know who the influencers are in your niche? If you don't, then you need to find out and invite them to be a special guest on your webinars. Not only is this a great way to encourage people to attend your webinar, it also gives you access to the audience of your special guest. The special guest that you invite is highly likely to have a large following either on social media or through an email list or possibly both. Ask them to tell their audience about the webinar and you will be able to reach people that you never could before. Faster sales process. Webinars offer a really fast way to convert leads into sales. With a well-presented webinar, you will provide your audience with all the steps of your sales funnel in one go. Your audience will get to know you fast, like what you have to say, and trust you. This is essential for converting attendees into customers. Nothing else compares to webinars when it comes to providing the fastest return on investment, ROI. If you sell a product using a website and a sales page, you are unlikely to make a lot of sales with first-time visitors. With webinars, you can do this. Attract super affiliates. If you have an affiliate program for your products and services, then webinars provide a great way to attract the best affiliates out there. These guys have very big email lists and can fill up your webinar without you having to do any additional marketing. Super affiliates will be interested if your webinar has a high conversion rate. So you need to keep statistics about this. Show these people those persuasive metrics and they will promote your webinar in a heartbeat. In the next video, we will discuss how to plan for a high converting webinar. Planning for a high converting webinar. High converting webinars do not just happen, they are planned. Even if you are a true expert in your niche, we do not recommend that you just wing it. Your attendees will expect a well-planned and organized webinar event, and you need to provide this to maximize your engagement and your chances of making sales. What are your webinar goals? What do you want to achieve with your webinar? Do you want to establish yourself as an expert in your niche? Do you want to generate more leads and sales? Do you want to create a successful joint venture? Do you want to increase the visibility of your brand? It is important that you define the purpose of your webinar. You may want to achieve more than one goal, such as promoting your niche expert status and driving new leads and sales, for example. This is fine. Just know what your goal is. What value will you provide? A high converting webinar will always provide value, so you need to think carefully about what you are going to give your webinar audience. You need to provide your attendees with value first before you make a sales pitch. The best way to do this is to show your attendees how they can solve a common problem. Let's say that you are in the make money online niche. One of the most common problems for people in this niche is traffic generation. If you can show your attendees how to generate a lot of traffic to their website or their offers, you will certainly grab their attention. When it comes to the product or service you intend to pitch at the end of the webinar, it must be related to the original theme. So if your webinar is about online traffic generation, then your offer needs to be about this too. Maybe it is a way to automate the traffic generation method you have already explained, for example. Create presentation slides. You will need to create a high-quality presentation slide set for your webinar. This will provide organization and discipline to your event and help to focus the attention of your attendees. The best slides reveal one point at a time to maintain focus. If you reveal everything at once, then you run the risk of your audience reading rather than listening. We recommend that you plan for a buildup of excitement with your presentation. Start by introducing the problem and getting your audience to feel the pain of this. Ask them to interact using the chat facility. Next, ask them how they would feel if you had the answer to their problem. Again, encourage interactivity here. Then talk about the benefits of solving the problem before you reveal the methods or tactics in your webinar. Social proof is something that you must provide to build your credibility with your audience and enhance your chances of making a sale at the end of the event. This can include testimonials, case studies, income proof, statistical proof. In other words, graphs showing increases in website traffic. All of these things will go a long way to convince your audience that you know what you are talking about and that you walk your talk. You must plan for this in your webinar presentation. Plan in advance. Be prepared to spend a lot of time and effort planning your webinar. You will get the best results if you do this. When you have created your presentation, you can record a practice session and then go over this to see what you need to improve. If you have people that will provide honest feedback to you, then ask them to watch the recording and be honest with you. One thing that you do not need is to spend a great deal of time on the look and feel of your slides. A lot of high-converting webinars just use plain white slides with a logo or website address on them. Having a fancy theme or animations with your slides will not make it convert better, so don't waste your time with this. In the next video, we will discuss how to choose your webinar subject and come across as an expert. Choosing your webinar subject. There's nothing more important than choosing the right subject for your webinar. If you choose a topic that does not have strong appeal, then your results will be very disappointing. It doesn't matter if you are an expert in the subject because you can always increase your knowledge in this area, as we will explain later. Which of these do you think is going to be more appealing? How to make $10,000 a month with this secret strategy, or the best web hosting for an online business? Both of these have value, but it is obvious that the first subject will have the widest appeal. Learning a secret strategy to earn a lot of money is always going to trump what to look for in a web host. If you are stuck for ideas when it comes to choosing a subject, then these things will help you. Know your niche. What niche are you in? What expertise and experience do you have? What are you passionate about? You need to know your niche in order to create an enticing subject for your webinar as well as deliver value to your audience. It is essential that you are interested in the subject of your webinar. Your passion will shine through in your presentation and your audience will feel this. If you choose a subject where you don't have a lot of interest, then things are not likely to turn out well. When you have an interest in something, it is a lot easier to turn this into a passion. What do people want? What are the most burning questions in your niche? We already mentioned the need for traffic generation in the make money online niche. If you're not sure about this, then you need to make it your business to find out. There are plenty of ways that you can find out what are the most important issues for people in your niche. Most niches have online forums where people look for help and guidance on specific issues. There are also social media groups on sites like Facebook and LinkedIn, which will provide clues on the burning questions that people have. Never assume that you know what people want. Things change all the time, and an issue that used to be important may not be anymore. You need to do your homework here. By spending a bit of time online, you should be able to discover the current problems that your audience is experiencing fairly easily and quickly. What skills and experience do you have? It is a good idea to identify your skills and experience when you need to choose a subject. Presenting something of value that you have the skills and experience to do will be so much easier for you. Think about the business skills that you have, for example. Are you good at driving traffic to websites or maybe writing copy that converts well? These are skills that are very valuable to others, and your webinar will have good appeal to many prospects. Enhancing your skills. It is possible to run a webinar on a subject that you have no knowledge about currently. You will need to put in the time to learn the subject and then apply it. While you could do this, it will be better if you build on the skills and experience that you already have. Here, you will need to identify your current skills and experience, and then identify any gaps in your knowledge. Maybe you are skilled at driving traffic from social media websites, but you need to improve your skills on creating persuasive landing pages that will generate leads and sales. There are plenty of high-quality courses available online. You will need to pay for the best training, and you need to consider this as an investment. It is essential that you present yourself as an expert on your webinar so that your attendees will trust you. They are much more likely to purchase your products and services in this situation. It is not just about having the necessary knowledge. You need to be able to apply that knowledge and measure the results that you get so you can furnish proof of your methods. You need to plan for this well in advance of your webinar, as it is going to take time for you to learn the new skills and apply them in the best way. Confidence is critical with webinars. You need to be convincing with your audience, even if you are asked a question that you do not know the answer to. Tell your attendees that you will find out and let them know the answer after the webinar. Publish your skills and experience. When you come up with your hot topic and announce your webinar to the world, some of the people interested in attending that do not know you are going to turn to Google or another search engine to find out as much as they can about you. You need to ensure that what they find gives them the confidence that you are an expert. You should set up a YouTube channel and add some videos about your niche. It is important that you appear in these videos, as this will give people more confidence. Also, you need to have a LinkedIn account where you can add your bio and history, and it is also a good idea to have a Facebook page that has some valuable content on it. If you have the time, then you can write a book about your niche and publish it on Amazon Kindle or an alternative network. The aim here is not so much to sell your book, but to demonstrate your credibility in the niche. Having a published book goes a long way to making people trust you. In the next video, we will look at ways that you can get to know your audience. Know your audience. It is very important that all businesses know their audience, and this certainly applies to running webinars to make money as well. You need to know who your audience are and what problems they are facing so that you can provide webinar content and products and services that will resonate with them. A webinar provides you with the opportunity to build very fast relationships with your audience. You will be a lot more successful in doing this when you know who your audience are and what they are looking for. So, if you're going to run a webinar about making money online, then you need to know who this will appeal to the most. Ask yourself the following questions. What is the age range of your target audience? Is there a predominant gender? In other words, more women interested than men. Where are they located? What income bracket are they in? What are they passionate about? What you want to achieve here is a persona for your ideal prospect. Once you do that, it will be a lot easier for you to find them and give them what they want. This is never going to be perfect. If you identify that the age range is between 23 and 45, for example, it doesn't mean that some people younger or older will not be interested in your webinar. Do your research. You can find out a great deal about the target audience for your niche by researching online. It is very likely that someone has done this before you and that there is information available that will help you. We mentioned online forums earlier, and these are a good place to start. Find the best forums for your niche and then check them out to assess the important elements that make up the people that are active in the forum. You may find that your niche is more female-dominated, for example, or that there are more people interested in it that live in a specific part of the world. Do whatever it takes to find out all that you can about your target audience. Facebook Audience Insights. One of the reasons that ads on Facebook and Instagram are so popular and successful is that you can use specific insight tools to identify your audience. By typing in keywords for your niche, you will see the characteristics of people that responded to ads in your niche. You will need to use the Facebook Ads Manager and then go to the Facebook Audience Insights section. Both Facebook and Instagram use this. By setting up a Facebook page and posting content relevant to your niche, you can see what types of people are interacting with it. Ask your audience. The best way to find out what your audience wants is to ask them. You can do this by adding a survey to your website and check the responses that you get. Use your Facebook page for this as well. Join relevant Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups and ask the questions there too. When you are asking your audience using these methods, it is best to give them some choices. You will get a greater response that way. If you just ask them an open question such as, "What would you like me to host a webinar about?" then it is going to take effort for people to answer that. It is better to give them a choice. So, for the money-making online niche, this could be traffic generation, email marketing, copy and conversions, affiliate marketing. When people just have to make a simple choice like this, a lot more will participate. Of course, there is a risk that you may have missed a burning issue here, but if you have, then it is likely that some people will tell you. If you've done your homework on the forums and groups, then you should already know what the hot topics are. Refine your audience over time. You need to have a good idea who your audience are and what they want before you launch your webinar. Afterwards, you can refine the information that you have by doing more research and asking more questions. This is more important in some niches than in others. Things change rapidly in some niches, so keeping in touch with what people want is essential here. In other niches, there is not as much change, but it is still important that you are on top of things. Ask other experts in your niche. You can ask other experts in your niche for their take on the ideal target audience and the most common questions that they need answers to. Do this as part of your strategy to invite special guests to your webinars. Not everyone will be willing to discuss this with you, but some certainly will. You could offer to interview a niche expert and turn this into a podcast. In the interview, you can specifically ask them how they define their target audience and what the current hot topics in the niche are. Again, not everyone will agree to an interview, but some will. What drives your audience? Once you know why your audience are involved in your niche, then you will have a significant advantage over your competitors. For example, people want to lose weight for specific reasons and not just to look thinner. They might want to shed a few pounds to make them more attractive or sexy looking. Perhaps they have a major event coming up such as a wedding and need to look their best. For the make money online niche, there are some people that just want to generate a side income to supplement their main income. Others will want to be millionaires. In the next video, we will share some great tips for improved webinar conversions. Essential tips for better webinar conversions. One of the best reasons for investing your time and effort into webinars is that they have insane conversion levels. If your webinar is mediocre, then you can still expect around a 5% conversion rate. Compare that to email marketing, where a 1% conversion rate is common, and maybe 4% of your email campaign is really good. If your webinar is well planned, solves a problem that is in demand and really engages your audience, then you can be in the 20% conversion range. Not only that, but you will have all of the attendees as new leads that you can market to in the future. A lot of products and services sold on webinars have a high ticket price. So, making improvements to your conversion rate can have a significant impact on your bottom line. Here are the critical tips that you need to follow in order to maximize your webinar conversions. Maximize your attendance rates. You need to be realistic about webinar attendance. If you have 1,000 attendees lined up for your webinar, they are not all going to turn up. In fact, if half of them show up, then you will be doing pretty well. A survey of webinar attendees revealed that 40 to 50% of registrants attend on average. If people do not attend your webinar, they are not going to purchase your offer. So, what can you do to increase the chances of registrants attending? Here are 4 tactics that we recommend you use to increase attendance for your webinars. 1. Increase the perceived value. If a registrant does not attend your webinar, it usually means that they prefer to spend their time doing something else. They do not perceive the value of attending your webinar to be higher than what they plan to do instead. One of the most effective ways to combat this is to offer a valuable bonus at the end of the webinar. This could be a special discount, a valuable report, or something else that is related to the subject of your webinar. 2. Always make offers at the end of the webinar. Nobody wants to attend a webinar where they are pitched with a product or service right away. If you do this, word will get around and your attendance will take a nosedive. Always bear in mind that the first priority of the attendee is to learn something valuable for free. So, give this to them first. Plan your webinars so that you provide all of the value before you start to discuss your offer. When you are able to fully satisfy your attendees with the value you have given them so far, they will be much more inclined to stick around to see what you have to offer. 3. Remind registrants often. Here's another harsh reality check for you. People are not going to plan their lives around your webinars. No matter how hard you try to persuade them to add your webinar event to their calendars, most will not do this. Some registrants will sign up days in advance and forget all about your webinar when the day comes around. So, what is the solution to this? It's really very simple. Just send reminders via email. Timing is very important here. This is what we recommend you do. Send an email reminder a few days to a week before so that the registrant does not make other plans because they forgot your webinar. Send an email reminder the day before the webinar event so that they can plan for the following day. Send at least one email reminder on the day of the event. If you're only going to send one, then make this an hour before the webinar will start. There's nothing wrong with sending more reminders on the actual day, just don't overdo it. 4. Scarcity. You need to make your webinar scarce to people. Frame it as a limited time opportunity that is really too good to miss. Tell the registrants that spaces are limited and that it is a one-time event, so access is limited as well. If people think that they are going to miss out on something good, then they will try harder to make sure that they attend. Do not announce that you will provide a replay of the webinar even if you plan to do this. If you must mention it, then say that it will take several days for this to be available. Warm up your audience. Don't be tempted to dive straight into the content of your webinar. Take some time out to build the anticipation of the event. You need to engage with your attendees here using interaction. A technique that works well is to ask people where they are from. Get them to type this into the chat box and then read these out as you see them. It is a simple way to get people to participate. You could also ask them to tell you in the chat box what they want to get out of your webinar. Ask the attendees some questions at the start that have simple answers. This will get them used to typing in the chat box and will warm them up to do this throughout the webinar. Another good tactic is to ask them to participate in a poll. Ask them something general, such as the number of webinars they have attended this year, and provide easy options. Always make an introduction. You will not know where all of your attendees have come from. Some of them will know you well, maybe from your email list, and others will not know you at all. So, you need an introduction section so that everyone is at the same level. Tell people who you are and some interesting facts about your life. Don't go over the top here. Just provide relevant details which confirm that you know what you are talking about. You don't want to bore your audience here. Then provide an overview of the webinar and the benefits to the attendee. Do not mention your offer at this point. Tell them that they will want to stick around because you have something exciting for them at the end. Remember that special bonus. Excite your audience. When you run webinars, you need to think of yourself as an entertainer as well as a niche expert. We have already covered how important it is to choose the right subject for your webinar. You then need to turn this into an exciting title and refer to it throughout. Some time may have passed between your registrant signing up and attending your webinar. It is likely that they have forgotten why they signed up, so you need to remind them. Don't give away your secrets too early, or you run the risk of people leaving. Don't be boring. This shouldn't need saying, but you must speak with an engaging tone to hold the attention of your webinar audience. If you provide a boring, monotone delivery, then your attendees will leave in droves. No matter how good you think you are at speaking, there's always room for improvement. Here are 3 things you can do. 1. Rehearse your webinar presentation. Instead of trying to memorize your webinar presentation, it is much better to rehearse it. If you are lazy, then this will come across to your audience. With unrehearsed webinar presentations, the speaker will often pause to think about what they are saying and even lose track of where they are. These things are very noticeable. 2. Use the right inflection. Varying the way that you speak with inflection is a good way to engage your audience. All that this means is to place emphasis on specific words when you speak. Change to a slower speed when saying these words and pronounce them louder than the other words. Practice doing this with your webinar presentations. 3. Slow down. Some people have a tendency to rush their webinar presentations. They are either nervous about speaking to a lot of people or they believe that their audience has a limited attention span. Rushing your speech can make it difficult for some people to understand. Take regular breaths and slow it down. Use simple interactions with your webinars. With webinars, you have the opportunity to have a two-way conversation with your audience. You need this interaction to keep people engaged, but you should also keep it simple. The webinar chat function is the answer to this. Ask your audience questions and call out participants by their names if you want. They will reply to you using the chat function. What sort of questions should you ask? Well, here are some ideas. Do you have this problem in your business? Do you agree that this method is simple to apply? Does this make sense to you so far? You need to keep your questions related to the subject of the webinar. Each time you ask a question, be sure to pause the presentation for a while and give your audience time to respond to you. Look at the answers and then use names to respond, such as, "That's a good point, Susan," or "You're absolutely right, David." Let your audience know that there will be an opportunity for them to ask questions about the presentation and get answers from you at the end. We will cover how to manage these sessions in a later video. Use a proven webinar content model. You do not want to confuse your audience by jumping around from one topic to another. This is a surefire way to lose them and drive them away. Instead, you should use a copywriting-based framework for your webinar content. We suggest that you use the PASTOR model. Problem. At the start, you need to identify the problem that you are going to solve. Amplify. This is where you make your audience really feel the pain of the problem. Go into a lot of detail about the problem here so that it resonates with your audience and they are motivated to pay attention to your solution. Solution. This is the step where you explain your solution to the problem. Tell the story of how you arrived at the solution and how well it worked. Testimonials. Now you need to provide social proof that your solution works. Show testimonials of people that have used your solution and achieved good results. Offer. After you have provided the value in your presentation, it is time to make your offer. Explain how your product or service will help them to implement the solution. Response. Ask your audience to take action right now to get the results that they want. Tell them exactly what they need to do. By using the PASTOR model, your webinar will flow seamlessly from one section to the next. Your audience will see an engaging story unfold until it is time for them to take action. Use examples. One way that you can make a major impact with your webinars is to provide real examples that illustrate the concepts you are presenting. This will help your audience to understand how they can apply the concepts in their life or in their business. Provide as many examples as you can. Your audience wants to apply the concepts in your webinar, but sometimes they will not know how. Good examples will show them the way to do this. Emphasize pain and benefit. Your audience is suffering from a pain in their life, and they believe that your webinar will solve this for them. At the start of your webinar, you need to emphasize this pain and tell them that your webinar will provide the solution. Remind your audience why they are attending your webinar and the benefits of staying until the end. This will help to make your audience pay closer attention. Now you want to break down your solution to their problem step by step. People are not interested in the technicalities. They just want a solution they can apply. Make your offer at the end part of the solution. An engaged audience will purchase. The more involved your audience is with you, the more invested they will be in your solution. Attendees that interact with you the most during the webinar are the best leads and the most likely to make a purchase. Engagement is essential, and here are 3 ways you can encourage it. 1. Use a poll. You need to check periodically that your attendees understand things so far and that they are getting value from your presentation. You can use a poll to get good feedback from your audience. Launch a poll after you have delivered a section. 2. Attract attention with your slides. Don't crowd your slides with a ton of words that you then read aloud. This is boring. And if you're just going to read from the slides, then what is the point of you being there? Instead, use a few powerful words on each slide and fill in the blanks. 3. Use your attendees' names. We alluded to this earlier. There's nothing better for an audience member to hear than their own name. It really makes them feel involved. If someone asks a question, then you can say, "That's a really good question, Jenny." People will love that an expert like you complimented them on a live webinar. Close your webinar the right way. Once you have delivered the value that you promised your audience, it is time for you to make a smooth transition into your offer. A lot of the attendees will be expecting you to make an offer to them, but you still need to make the transition as smooth as possible. Your offer should only be available to webinar attendees. It is also a good tactic to offer your audience a special discount. When you are making your offer, be sure to tie it in with the solution to the problem. Your attendees really need to perceive the benefit of the offer. After pitching your product, hold a question and answer session. Most attendees will want to see the Q&A session and will endure your offer pitch so that they can do this. After finishing your Q&A session, make one last pitch of your offer. Follow up after the webinar. Not all of the attendees are going to make a purchase during the webinar. You need to follow up with them within 1 or 2 days of the event. Use email to send them a recording of the webinar. Explain that you covered a lot of ground in the webinar and that you don't want them to miss anything. Remind them of the benefits of your offer and tell them that the special discount is only available for the next 48 hours or whatever time you decide, and provide them with a link. Tell them that they can ask you any questions by replying to the email. In the next video, we will discuss the best ways to manage webinar question and answer sessions. Managing question and answer sessions. A very significant part of your webinar is the question and answer session. Many people will attend your webinar just for the questions and answer section. This could be due to the fact that they have a specific question related to the subject of the webinar which they cannot find an answer to. Or perhaps they want a detailed explanation about something. It doesn't matter why your attendees are keen to participate in your Q&A session. What is important is that you answer as many questions from attendees as you possibly can. This will make them more willing to purchase your products and services and look out for future webinars you are running. Determine the number of questions you will tackle. You need to think about the number of questions that you are going to be able to tackle on your webinar. This number will be dependent on the amount of time that you are willing to dedicate to the session. The speed in which you are able to answer the questions is also a factor you need to take into account. How large will your webinar be? If you're only going to have around 50 attendees, then your approach to answering questions is going to be different than if you are expecting 1,000 people to attend. With a small number of attendees, it is practical for you to answer every question yourself as they come up during the event. But when you have a large group of attendees, it is not a good idea to tackle questions that arise during the presentation. It could really upset the flow of your event. If you decide to leave questions until the end, then you could literally spend hours tackling them all. The benefits of getting help. If you are expecting a large number of attendees and don't think that you will have the time to answer all of the questions, then you should consider getting help from a webinar moderator. A moderator can help you throughout the event. They can provide answers to questions that they already know the answers to, for example. Some people are going to ask some really basic questions, such as what your website address is or for the address of the offer. Your moderator can take care of these for you. Your moderator can hold the questions for you until the Q&A session when you have the time to provide answers. Your moderator can filter out repeat questions. It is very likely that more than one person will ask the same question about your event or the subject matter. Then there will be questions that are just not relevant to the subject or the webinar that they can deal with. Finally, your moderator can prioritize the questions so that you provide answers to the most important ones first. You do not want to miss any of these questions as they could mean the difference between getting a sale and not. Ask your moderator to interact with the audience in the chat as well, as this will drive webinar engagement. Your approach to questions. The way that you approach questions from your attendees will depend on your personal preference and the facilities of the webinar platform you are using. Most webinar platforms have a chat room which your attendees can use to type their questions. Some webinar platforms will have a separate question management feature where they can send them to your phone or to someone else, your moderator for example, so that you can answer them as they come up throughout your presentation. If you're going to use a moderator, then you will probably need to add them as an organizer so that they will be able to field the questions. Some platforms will actually allow you to add a moderator. You can see that your choice of webinar platform plays a very important role in the way that you can approach questions from your audience. What is the best time to take questions? This really does depend on the number of webinar attendees and your personal style. Some webinar presenters prefer to take questions as they come up throughout the presentation. Others prefer to ask their attendees to hold all of their questions until the end. A method that we don't recommend is to tackle questions at the start of your webinar. The best way to answer questions. The way that you answer questions from your attendees is very important. You need to show that you are grateful for them asking questions and that you really care that you answer them fully. This means that you will need to spend a little bit of time to answer each question. Rushing an answer is not a good thing. If you rush to answer a question, then the person or people that asked it are going to think that you don't care about them. The rest of the attendees will pick up on this as well. They are likely to form the view that you are only interested in selling your offer and not in really helping them. You need to avoid this at all costs. If you do not fully understand a question or need more information from the person that asked it, then ask for clarification. This demonstrates that you really do care. We recommend that you take all of the questions using the chat feature and that you answer them live using the microphone. Your moderator can type your answer in the chat as well. In the next video, we will discuss the best ways for you to promote your webinar. The best ways to promote your webinar. If nobody knows about your webinar, then you will have no attendees. It is very unlikely that people will just stumble across your webinar. You need to make the effort to announce that your event is taking place and use proven methods to bring you in the most attendees. There is no time to lose when it comes to webinar promotion. Persuasive landing page. It all starts with a captivating landing page for your webinar. This needs to captivate visitors and persuade them that signing up for your webinar will be in their best interest. You need to highlight the major benefits of attending the webinar. Remember that you are asking them to give up around 2 hours of their time, so you need to provide compelling reasons. Your landing page should be clutter-free and only provide 2 choices to the visitor. 1. Register for your webinar. 2. Leave the page. If you have used squeeze pages before, then you will understand this concept. You don't want to provide a lot of different links on the landing page to other content that will distract your visitors. Make it as all or nothing as you can. You can provide a free incentive as a way to get people to sign up for your webinar. This could be a valuable report on the subject of your webinar, for example, or a video that provides valuable content. It is important that you obtain the best email address from each of your registrants. This is an email address that they use often. Tell your visitors that you will send their free incentive and other important information to this email address. We have already discussed the importance of the title that you use for your webinar. This has to be enticing and make your visitors want to find out more. You can have an enticing subheading too if you want. Then it is down to the benefits. Ask yourself what would make you attend a webinar on making money online or whatever the subject is. The benefits on your landing page need to answer the questions that people have about the subject. For example, a benefit could be, you will learn how to effortlessly drive hordes of buying traffic to your offers. Email marketing. Once you have your landing page set up, then you need to get the word out about your webinar. Research has shown that email marketing is responsible for around 80% of webinar registrations. It is the most effective channel that you can use to promote your webinars. If you don't have an email list, then you need to collaborate with someone that has. You can purchase solo ads from people that have email lists in your niche. This can be expensive initially, but once you build a large list of your own, you can use it over and over again for future webinars. Your website or blog. If you have your own web properties, then be sure to advertise your webinar there. With a WordPress theme that has a sidebar which appears on each page, then add details of your webinar here in the form of an ad. You can also write posts about the subject matter of your webinar, and then add a call to action with your landing page link to sign up for your webinar for more answers. If you have a popular blog, then this is a great way to bring attention to your upcoming webinar. Make sure that you provide the details of your webinar on the homepage of your sites. Social media. How many social media channels do you use? Do you have a Facebook page, a LinkedIn profile, and a Twitter account? Whatever you use, be sure to post that you have an upcoming webinar happening soon. If you are a member of related groups on Facebook or LinkedIn, then this is a good way to get the word out. Join groups if you are not already a member. There are other social sites you can use as well, such as Reddit and Quora. Look for questions in Quora related to the subject of your webinar and announce your event to answer the questions. YouTube is one of the best platforms that you can use for free traffic. Create some videos around the subject of your webinar and then announce your event in them with a link to your landing page in the description. Live videos are a good idea with YouTube as they tend to rank highly in Google as well. Choose the right keywords and you could get a lot of traffic. Email signatures and forum signatures. A really simple but effective way to promote your upcoming webinar is to create an email signature and forum signature about it, if you participate in forums related to your niche. You probably send and reply to a lot more emails than you think you do. Adding an email signature announcing your webinar is very easy to do. People don't use email signatures because they worry about some of the people that receive their emails not being interested in their business. Don't worry about this. You never know what might interest someone. If your webinar does not interest them, they may tell someone else about it. This is no time to be shy. Paid advertising. There are a number of ways that you can use paid advertising to announce your webinar. We have already mentioned solo ads, which are one of the best methods as they use the power of email marketing and help you to build your own list at the same time. Here are some other paid methods you can use. PPC ads. You can use Google AdWords or Microsoft Ads to promote your webinar. Your ad will appear on the first page of the search results when people type in related keywords. You only pay when someone clicks the ad and ends up on your webinar landing page. This can be effective, but you need to check out the policies of the networks first. Your landing page may not be acceptable to them, for example. The other thing you need to research is the price per click. This can be really expensive, particularly on Google. A really good thing about PPC ads is that it is a fast way to test out the effectiveness of your landing page. You can measure the number of clicks to the page and the number of registrations you receive to see the conversion rate. Social media ads. A number of the social media networks allow you to advertise. Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are good examples. How effective social media ads would be for your webinar is another question. One of the good things is that you can use video in your ads. YouTube offers ads on their platform too. Here you can find videos related to your webinar subject and then place ads at the start of these videos. As with all paid traffic methods, you will need to run some tests to see how effective your campaigns are. Advertising on niche blogs. If there are high traffic blogs in your niche that accept advertising, then this is another strategy you could use. You could either create a banner that the site owner displays on agreed pages, or you could write a guest post around the subject matter of your webinar. This should be a cheaper option than running PPC ads or social media ads. You need to do your homework to make sure that you choose the right blogs. Then it is a matter of testing the effectiveness of your ads. Collaborations. Collaborating with others can be a great way to promote your webinar. Finding influencers in your niche that would be willing to promote your webinar to their email list is an excellent leverage tactic, but you will need to give them something in return, of course. Tell them about the offer that you will promote on the webinar and cut them into the deal. If it is your product or service, then you can offer them a specific percentage. When you will make commissions from promoting other people's offers, you can share the commissions with them. It is essential that you have a good tracking system here. You want to make sure that you only reward your partner with commissions from the people that they bring to your webinar and not from those attendees you found yourself. It gets even more complicated if you want to collaborate with more than one influencer. Webinar listing websites. There are a number of webinar listing websites available where you can list details of your webinar. Some sites offer this feature for free, and some will make a small charge. If there's a charge, then check out how many visitors the website gets before you commit. These websites can be great resources because the people that visit them and browse through the listings are actually looking for webinars to attend. Do not expect to get hordes of registrants using these websites. But if it is free to add your listing, then you may as well do it anyway. In the next video, we will discuss choosing the right platform for your webinar. Choosing the right platform for your webinar. It is essential that you use the right webinar platform. In this video, we will look at the features and tools that you can look for when choosing your webinar solution. There are free webinar solutions, paid webinar services, and even webinar software that you can host yourself so that you don't have to pay regular fees. What to look for with webinar platforms. The first thing to understand is that not all webinar platforms are created equally. Some of the platforms are going to be more suited to what you are trying to achieve with your webinars than others. Here are the main things that you need to look out for when choosing a webinar platform. The webinar interface is browser-based. We recommend browser-based webinar platforms because they tend to be more secure than applications. There have been cases where hackers have been able to attack webinar apps and then access the user's computer and camera. The technology for desktop and mobile apps is improving, but you are still safest with a browser solution. Interface is intuitive. This is obvious, but you want your webinar solutions to be easy to use for the attendees and you as the controller. A well-designed webinar interface that is intuitive is the best solution. Make it easy and enjoyable for your attendees. Customizable options. It is important that you can customize the look and feel of your webinar solution. For example, you want to be able to customize your webinar landing page, the webinar room itself, and waiting room, and so on. Branding is important in business, and you should be able to add your logo, use a custom color scheme, add your own images, etc. Powerful features. Check for powerful features in a webinar platform that will help you to achieve your goals. As a minimum, you should look for a chat feature, screen sharing, polls and survey feature, whiteboard, webinar recording, add a moderator, multiple presenters. Integration with services such as Google Analytics and PayPal can be very important as well. Another important feature that you need to look for is the capacity of the platform. What are the attendee limits? A good reputation and track record. How long has the webinar solution been available? What support is available to you? When you are first using a webinar solution, it is very likely that you will need help. Check out how the support team stacks up. Reputable webinar platforms. There are a number of good webinar platforms available to you. You need to spend time exploring the features and reputation of the various services and also to see if the pricing plans suit your budget. Here are a few services that you can look at to get you started. GoToWebinar, Demio, Webinar Ninja, WebEx, Zoom. Don't rush in when you are choosing a webinar platform. Check out the demos available and sign up for free trials so that you can test out the platform. Think about where you want to go with your webinars in the future. Maybe you want to have a panel of presenters, for example. In the final video, we will look at the best practices you need to follow for webinar mastery. Best practices for webinar mastery. If you want to deliver high-converting webinars that will make you money, then you need to follow the best practices in this video. They are all proven tactics that will provide you with the maximum chance of success with webinars. 1. Commit to webinars in your marketing strategy. There are many reasons why you need to include webinars in your marketing strategy. They convert higher than most other forms of marketing. You can deliver value, develop expert status in your niche, you can present to a global audience, there is no hard sell, it is easy to engage with webinars, you can generate fast leads and sales and more. 2. Plan your webinars. Never attempt off-the-cuff webinars no matter how well you know your subject. Identify goals for the webinar and decide what value you will provide. Create simple but effective presentation slides and practice your webinar before you go live. 3. Choose the right webinar subjects. It is essential that you get the subject of your webinar right. If you get this wrong, your attendee numbers will be low. You need to know your niche and find out what people want. Identify the skills that you have and enhance them if necessary. 4. Know your audience. The more that you know your target audience, the more successful you are likely to be with your webinars. You need to put in the research time for this. Tools like Facebook Audience Insights can help you. There's plenty of information online that will help you to define your audience clearly. 5. Use conversion tactics. There are several proven tactics that you can use to improve your conversion rates of your webinars. You can maximize the attendee numbers, warm up your audience, introduce yourself in the right way, maximize interaction, and use the Pastor proven webinar content model to name but a few. 6. Manage Q&A sessions. Q&A sessions are essential for successful webinars. You must provide your attendees with the opportunity to ask questions, as this will make them more likely to purchase your offer. You need to determine how you will manage your Q&A sessions and whether you need the help of a moderator. 7. Promote your webinar. Nobody is going to know about your webinar if you don't promote it. You need to start with a persuasive and high-converting landing page. Email marketing is far and away the most effective promotion method. Tell people about your webinar on your website and use your social media profiles to spread the word. Collaborations are good too. 8. Choose the right webinar platform. You need to use the right webinar platform for your needs. Browser-based solutions are the most secure, and you need an interface that is customizable and intuitive. Check out the features offered by the webinar platforms to see if they meet with your requirements. Conclusion. If you have gone through this training from start to finish, you will have a good understanding of how you can use webinars to make a lot of money. It is important that you do not just jump into running webinars without knowing what you are doing. Webinar attendees are looking for informative and valuable content. They want answers to their most burning questions, and when you use the methods in this training, you will be able to deliver the right solutions to them. Now, it is over to you. While going through this training will make you a bit smarter, only by taking action will you be able to leverage the power of webinars and make the money that you want. We hope that you found this training to be informative and useful. Get started today with your webinar marketing. We wish you every success with the planning, promotion, and running of your webinars.